I'd like to welcome to Hazard, Kentucky, Loretta Lynn. Loretta, it's good to have you here in Hazard.
It's good to be here in Hazard again, and I'd like to say every time I come here, it's a hazard.
Loretta, we've talked on the radio a lot about you for the last couple of days. We have tried to relate your early years over on the record. You keep singing about Butcher Holler. Tell us about that. Where is Butcher Holler?
I'm glad you're saying Butcher Holler. Nobody else talks like that.
They say holler, right?
Hollow, and I said that's where you're from. That's not where I'm from, because I'm from Holler. Right. Butcher Holler.
Butcher Holler's what it, we've got a lot of hollers. I was born and raised around here, and that's what we say. It's holler, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, how far is that from Paintsville? Is Paintsville a county seat?
Yeah, Paintsville's about 12 miles.
Were you, when you were growing up, Loretta, were you ever in Hazard? Do you remember ever coming to Hazard?
Listen, I never went to Paintsville. I never got out of Holler when I was growing up.
Loretta, it's good to talk with you again, and we're certainly glad that you, I know you love these mountains. I know you love these people, and these people that mine this coal around here, and that makes us feel like that we're close to you. And
I understand the people from the hills, you know, and when I get out of the hills and look around me, a lot of people that don't understand them, it kind of feels funny to me because I can't understand why they don't understand the people from the hills, you know, because really I think we're far ahead of them.
One thing I've noticed, Loretta, a lot of people, when they, do well in something, as you have in what you're doing, they get a little bit self-conscious of the fact that they were from way back in the hills. I've seen people go away from here, and they even will not tell where they were raised. And I certainly want to congratulate you for being proud of Butcher Holler and the people that are here, and you still are just as proud as anybody could ever be of your people that live in these mountains. And I'm proud of you for that.
I'm proud to be from Kentucky, and I'm not ashamed of it a bit. And as we were coming down through here, you know, all the houses way up in the hollers, you know, and we'd see everybody look at all the toilets, you know, and laugh. And I said, now, if this was Halloween, we'd turn them over, and then we'd have to put them back up tomorrow, because we'd turn the toilets over on Halloween and the fodder shocks.
Right.
Nobody knows what a fodder shock is anyplace else, hardly.
You know, I had a friend from Washington, from Tacoma, Washington. A cousin of mine was here last week. I know you lived in the state of Washington. We drove out through this area, his first time in Kentucky, and I mentioned the fodder shock out there in the field, and he didn't know what I was talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Loretta, again, it's good to have you in Hazard, and we want to see you come back again. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. 'Cause if you're looking at me, you're looking at country.
Loretta Lynn. Loretta, what's your next record? Have you got we've got a record, I believe, today. I noticed it was number 10 on the charts, called Home. Have you got a new one that'll be coming out soon?
We got one that'll be out soon called When the Tingle Becomes a Chill.
Say that again, please.
When the Tingle Becomes a Chill.
Oh, I see. Is that going to be just Loretta Lynn, or would it be with Conway Twitty, or just?
Just Loretta Lynn. When the tingle becomes a chill.
How did you get involved with singing with Conway Twitty?
We went to Europe, and of course we sang a little bit together in the dressing rooms, and we took an ocean to record together.
Hey, Louisiana woman, Mississippi man, we get together every time we can. The Mississippi River can't keep us apart. There's too much love in this Mississippi heart. Too much love in this Louisiana heart.
Of course, I recorded with Ernest Tubb before I did Conway, and I love Ernest Tubb. You know, I never dreamed I'd ever record with him. And I think that was probably one of the biggest thrills of my life, recording with Ernest Tubb.
No one else will ever do. I'll be yours and I'll be true. Don't worry, dear. Have no fear, 'cause I'm yours.
Well, I know that the Kentucky broadcasters, and I happened to be present in Louisville about a year ago, Loretta, and the broadcasters of this state awarded you the Kentuckian of the Year award, and a lot of that came from the feelings of people across Kentucky for you're wanting to help the people over here in joining Leslie County where they had this mine accident. And I want to personally thank you for what you did on that, and people certainly appreciate that here in the Hills.
Well, thank you very much, and I did all I could.
Well, listen, I know you're going to have to get ready for a show, and we want to get this on the air as soon as possible. Where do you go from Hazard now?
I go to Charlotte, North Carolina, the races. We're going to do a show there. And Dick Lee's going to be with us tonight.
Right, we've been telling you.
And Kenny Starr. Ernest.
Okay, tell us a little about the show tonight.
Okay, Kenny Starr is a little fella that we got about 3 years ago when he was 17 years old from Kansas City. And his latest record was Put Another Notch in Your Belt. And he's got a brand new one he's coming out with right now, which is on MCA Records. And my son is with us tonight, Ernest Trey. And we got Bill with us up over there, Bill Reeves. He sang just like George Jones, and he's been on his CB radio saying George Jones and Loretta Lynn's are going to be here, and I'm going to make him sing. I'm going to say this is going to be the sober George Jones.
Loretta Lynn.
We're going back to Ernest Sparkman's interview with Loretta Lynn that was heard on WSGS when she was in Hazard in 1975. Ernest interviewed Loretta in front of Memorial Gym before her concert here, and it was then that she realized she had performed here before. First in 1971 and again in 1975.
You've been here before. When were you in it?
Before, but I don't know exactly where I work. You know, I work somewhere all the time. But I don't know if it's this building or not.
This is the only building large enough.
I haven't been here.
How long ago was it?
Don't ask me, because I couldn't tell you where I was at last week.
Okay, you came from Nashville.
From Nashville.
I say Nashville. You came from your home that's out of Nashville. Where is your home?
Hurricane Mills, Tennessee.
Tell us about Butcher Holler.
Well, Butcher Holler is mostly, you know, people where their last name was Butcher in this holler, and Webb. And I was a Webb, but I'm half Butcher too. My grandma was a Butcher, my grandpa was a Webb.
You've done right well since you were at Butcher Holler. What are some of the investments or things that you're involved in other than just singing now?
Well, we have publishing companies, and in Conway we have a talent agency, and we have a dude ranch, and different things, you know, that I'm involved with.
I was impressed. I might say that we're talking to Loretta in her bus parked outside the gymnasium here, and I've never been on a bus like this, Loretta, that's set up for this type of thing. And I hope if it's too personal, don't answer this, but I wouldn't have any idea. But this thing seems so plush. What would a bus like this cost?
Well, this one cost me about $147,000, but the one that I'm getting in 2 months from now is about $200,000.
What are some of the things that you'll have in that bus now?
Just anything you could have in any home.
Sure.
That's right.
Even TV?
We got 2 TVs. They have one up here in front in the lounge, and I got a big one in my lounge in the back.
Okay, radio, AM, FM radio, CB?
FM radio, AM and FM radio, and record players, and of course they got CB, and I've got a telephone that I can call out anywhere that I want to. Then I have a telephone that I can call to the bus driver or the relief bus driver, and that's the drummer that's going in and out the door making all that noise right now.
You mean a telephone from the back of the bus you can call up to?
I can call out, I can call a bus driver on one telephone, but I have one telephone in the back that I can call out to any part of the country, Canada, anywhere.
Sure. Well, in other words, this to you is home in a sense, right?
It's home.
How much time do you spend on this out of the year?
Just about every day of the year.
Sure.
In my room, well, I have 2 couches, lets out, makes a king-size bed. Or you let one couch out and it makes into a full-size bed. And there's 8 bunks.
Well, how many normally travel on this bus with you?
Well, let's see, I think there's about 11 of us.
Loretta, it's good to have you in Hazard. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Bob Coltis, and in the studio with me I have Loretta Lynn. And let's talk about Patsy Cline a little bit.
Okay.
We saw her in the movie. What kind of influence did she have on your life? Was it a big part of it?
It sure was, because when I first went to Nashville, Tennessee, you don't get really accepted. Or at that time, you didn't get accepted like, hey, come on in, sit right down and make yourself at home, you know. It wasn't one of them kind of things. And Patsy was kind of I looked up to her as a big sister, and there wasn't that much difference in our age, but I felt like there was, you know. And if anybody said anything bad about me, well, she'd be right in there for me. And she would tell me how to go on stage. She always said, Loretta, don't go on stage with a song that you'll put the people to sleep with, you know. And don't come off stage with a song that you'll put the people to sleep with. And she'd always tell me how to dress. Now, you don't dress, you know. Of course, today they dress a lot different than they did back then. But she says you leave a lot to the imagination, you know.
I see.
And, yeah. So she was quite a gal.
Okay, you also had some recordings with Ernest Tubb, too, in the early days.
Well, that's when, not long after I started singing. Ernest Tubb was responsible for me really getting on the Grand Ole Opry. He helped me a lot. And they asked him, this was back before MCA took over Decca Records, and they asked him, said, who would you like to record with? Because we want you to record with some girl that's on Decca. And that's back when there was a lot of girls with Decca. Kitty Wells was on Decca, and I don't know who else was with Decca. But he said Loretta Lynn, and I was nobody. I just got on the label when we started recording, and that sure helped me.
How'd you feel the first time you were on the Grand Ole Opry when you walked out on the stage and all the lights?
You know, I don't remember. The only thing I remember, I was so scared. I remember patting my foot to the song that I had out called Honky Tonk Girl, my first record, you know. I remember doing that, but I don't remember coming off stage. I don't remember how I got there. I do know that I was on Ernest Tubb's part of the show. And no, I was too excited. And I still get nervous.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If somebody's wanting to mess around with my makeup or my hair or anything before I go on stage, I said, don't touch me, you know, because I'm too nervous to talk before I go on stage.
We were talking earlier about when I met you a long time ago in Columbus, Georgia, at a concert. You were sick before then, and you remember that. You remember the sickness there.
Yes, I remember the year.
You didn't look quite good that day.
No, I remember.
But they loved you.
Thank you.
You and Conway were there that evening. And Conway Twitty, Harold Jenkins Jr.
That's right.
We read about him in the paper here a few days ago.
Did you?
About some of his investments that he had to pay back
Yeah,
in the IRS. Did you know about? He won the case.
I think he's done that a couple of times.
Twitty Boogers or something like that. He's also your partner on a lot of songs that you recorded.
Yes.
Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, or did I get it backwards?
That's it.
Yeah, and Feelings, and Conway.
As soon as I hang up the phone,
Yeah.
it's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one. And Conway, we were talking about him earlier. You have a special picture of Conway that...
Oh, yes,
on your
before,
wall.
you know, he had this slick back hair, and I always thought, you know, he ought to bring it up to date just a little bit, so I went and combed all that spray out of it and had it just kind of floating around, and I had a photographer take his picture. Well, he just about died, so I had it blowed up, and it's in my office. But now he's got his hair fixed a lot different. He's got a perm
frizzy,
in it.
a
Kind
frizzy.
of frizzy, and he looks a lot younger with it fixed this way, and...
Has he invited you to Twitty City? Yeah?
Well, I haven't had a chance to get there. I've been gone since June. I don't think I've been in but a couple of times. And just maybe a day or two for that. Went in and did one commercial for Crisco and right back out. I didn't go home before I come here. I live 100 miles from Nashville. So when I got in, I just had time, just stayed overnight, caught the plane. Here I am.
What is your schedule like? You say you do sometimes 2 shows a day?
I have worked every night. I've done 2 shows this year.
Mercy.
I bet there hasn't been one night I haven't done 2 shows.
But tonight you have 1 show. So it's,
Yeah, 1 show.
is it kind of a break for you now to do 1 show per day?
Yeah, I don't get started till the second show.
Oh.
Because, well, that's what we've been doing. In the second show, we always get a better show.
On the phone right with us right now, Loretta, we have Air Force Staff Sergeant Thomas Ferdero from the 21st 43rd Communications Squadron in Zweibrücken Air Base. That's over in the western part of West Germany. And Sergeant Ferdero, how you doing this afternoon? I'm doing fine. You want to talk to Loretta? Here she is.
Hi, how are you? I'm doing real good. Sure is good to talk to you. Oh, bless your heart. It's real good to be here. Are you going to get to see the show? Well, I consider working anywhere while I'm over here because that's what I come for. We've been riding, we got 2 buses that they've been hauling us around in. And, yeah, it's too bad that we don't have our buses. But we've got 2 real nice buses that they've got for us to, you know, to get around in. How far are you from here? From here?
It's a big country.
My goodness.
Thomas, are you into country music at all? New York. You know Eddie Rabbitt? He's from New York. Well, which part? Are you from the city of New York? Okay.
Well, you know, I don't know if you know about it now, but one of the biggest swinging cities in the country for country music is New York City.
You would never think that, would you?
That's right, but you go to New York and they got country music going all day long.
Okay, Sergeant Ferdaro, I have Loretta Lynn here. Is there anything that you ever wanted to ask Loretta Lynn? All right.
Yes, we Conway went on another label last year, and my recording contract wasn't up till this year. Well, in fact, it's just now up. And of course, me and Conway will record in the spring together. Okay, honey.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad he
Bye-bye.
mentioned Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn song because that's our next one. Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd ask me about that, because that's why we hadn't recorded this year.
We've been having 2 shows a night, and they have been sold out for almost a month. Both shows.
Hold on just a minute. Let me get a tape rolling here. On the Midwest Sound Countdown, Loretta Lynn. Hi there, darling.
Hi, Walter. How you doing?
Oh, we were just talking about everything that's been happening to you.
Oh,
And
my goodness.
Tell me that again, because...
Well, I said, well, there's been 2 months that I hadn't had any days off at all.
Yeah.
And I was at the Aladdin in Vegas for 17 straight nights, 2 shows a night. And after all that, me and my husband went up into the mountains in Idaho and spent 10 days. And about a week or so ago, we opened up here in Reno at the Harris.
Uh-huh.
And they had this place sold out. 2 shows a night for 2 weeks. And I'll be here 1 more week. They've been turning them away by the hundreds every night.
Somebody asked me, about the things you were doing, and they hadn't heard from you or seen you in a long time. And I said, she's so busy out in Nevada that we may never see her again.
Oh, you're going to see me again?
Hasn't the Aladdin, aren't they talking to you about renewing you all the way through 1979?
Yes, but I've cut my contract a lot shorter this year because I didn't want to work as much.
Yeah.
They'll be seeing me again. My movie starts in January.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm kind of thrilled about the movie. I was a little bit upset for a little bit because I didn't know exactly how Universal would, it's the coal miner's daughter.
Right.
And so I had a meeting with them, and I said, I don't want scenes or any language that I would be embarrassed over. I said, I don't go for that kind of stuff, and I would like to be able to see my own movie, my own life story. So they promised me there would be no 4-letter words and stuff in my movie that would embarrass me.
Is Sissy Spacek playing...
Coal miner's daughter.
She's playing your part, right?
Yes, she will be ending the movie that she's doing right now in another week.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be with me till the movie starts. And she was telling me the other day, she called me on the phone and said, Loretta, I just went out and picked up all your tapes. And I was going down the highway, had your tape in, playing it, and was singing along with your tapes, and said people were looking and laughing at me.
So the two of you will get a chance to sit down together and really get to know each other,
Yes,
especially...
we have been together about 3 different times, but after she gets this filmed in another week, her and I will be together till the 1st of January.
Now, what about the music, Loretta? Will she be singing the songs, or will you...
She will be singing all the way through the movie except the last part. And I think I will be singing Coal Miner's Daughter all the way through on the last of the movie. And I think that maybe they are going to stick the 3 verses that my producer took out. See, I had 3 more verses wrote of Coal Miner's Daughter. And when I started to record it, they said this is a whole album in itself.
Yeah.
And, of course, we recorded the Coal Miner's Daughter for an album because I didn't think anybody'd be interested in my life story, you know. And when we got through recording it, my husband says, no, I want this for a single. And they had taken the 3 verses out, but I think Universal wants the 3 extra verses put back in, which I will have to go cut Coal Miner's Daughter over again.
Think it could be a hit all over again.
It could be, with the 3 extra verses, yeah.
We talked about that before, and you told me there were extra verses to the song, and I always wanted to hear them.
Well, you're going to hear them.
And I'm going to hear them in the movie, right?
Right.
Oh,
but I'm real proud because Sissy is a fantastic little actress, and she's just new, and she's great. I'm really pleased with her.
Let me ask you something. We've discussed this in the past, and I'm going to refresh your memory just a little bit. There was a part you told me about your life, and I wonder if it's going to be in the movie, and it was kind of a cute part about the picnic and Mooney and the Jeep and something about walking along beside the Jeep or something like that.
That will be in the movie. How could we leave that out? Yeah, that'll be in the movie.
That was an interesting story.
Yeah.
I discussed that with your sister Crystal. And
what'd she say?
She said, I haven't heard that story before.
No, her and I don't really, well, you know, she's not really interested in that kind of stuff.
I asked her, I said, did your husband court you that way? She said, no. She said, I'd have hit him with a notebook.
She would have, too.
But there are some very interesting things in your early life with Mooney, and especially the starting and the traveling around in the old car and the sleeping in it and all of that, and getting the first record started. I also wonder how you're going to approach your relationship with the Wilburn brothers.
Well, I wasn't going to touch on that an awful lot in the movie, and I didn't in the book, because of the lawsuit and everything.
Yeah.
And so when they started they wrote the script of the movie, and they were going to touch on the Wilburn brothers when I first started, like me in the bus writing songs, and them going down the road with their name on the bus, and just a few little things like that. And we wasn't going to get into it deep, because they said if you get into it deep, you're going to have to finish it, you know?
Right.
So the Wilburn brothers said if they couldn't have their name in it like they should have it, as much as they done for me, they didn't want to be mentioned. And so the lawyer said, then that's fine, because if they are mentioned of what they have done for me, then it will have to be mentioned the last 5 years of what they didn't do for me and how much they did hurt me.
Well, there is so much of your life, Loretta. You know, if they did the entire thing, it would be a Roots. It would be 26 hours.
That's the way that, you know, they really wanted to sell the movie, and I said, no, it will be a movie first, and let them do whatever they want to after with it, you know. But the Wilburn brothers probably won't be mentioned, because they didn't want to be mentioned unless they had it all in there. And if they have it all, they got to have the ugly scene too.
Yeah. What about the fishing episode with the boat, when you fell out of the boat?
I don't think that will probably be in there.
You don't think that'll be in there?
I doubt. You know, there was so much. When you take a movie and base it on a life story, if you take it like from the book is longer than ever how long the movie lasts.
Yeah.
So they can't act out what you can read.
Well, it's like I say, you know, if they made a movie about your entire life and the many things that we've talked about and that we know about, it would be 26 hours long.
Well, this is it, and this worries me, because I know that they're going to have to make a good movie in 2 hours' time or whatever, in a book, you know, that you have kind of just touched on all of your life, you know.
Have you ever thought about the people that have made movies and also make records, and it seems like suddenly they're making movies and they're not making records anymore? They can't mix the two. Has that crossed your mind?
Well, I have. That has crossed my mind, but that's not going to happen with me, because I'm not going to let that happen. I was a singer first, and that's the way I'll end up, because that's me.
What about recording? Have you been in the studio lately, or?
I haven't been in quite a little bit. It's been about 2.5, 3 months. But I need to go in and spend at least a week in the studio. And I am setting time, like I'm setting 2 to 3 weeks in the spring to record, and 2 to 3 weeks in the fall to record.
And we also have your new record coming up here in just a moment on the Midwest Sound Countdown.
Did you get that record with the little sleeve on it?
Yes, we did.
What do you think of that?
I think that's just as cute as a bug.
Them pictures was taken within a half an hour about a month ago.
Is there one side of it? The audience hasn't seen that. Describe that to them, Loretta.
Which one?
The sleeve of the album.
The first side or the last side?
Both of them.
Huh?
Both of them.
Well, the first side of the single, and the only way that the audience will be able to see this is to go to the record store and get it, because it won't be on the album. And it's just on the single record. And one side is I'm dressed in an old-fashioned bathing suit from top to bottom.
Where did you get that?
Rented it. Believe it or not, because this had to be done like within a half hour.
Yeah.
And these pictures were taken like a month ago. And it was a real rush thing, or we could have probably got better pictures. And really, the one on the other side is in cut-off jeans.
That's dynamite.
And a little tank top, and that was the only picture we got in that. And I was a little upset, because if we could have got 4 or 5 other pictures, well, we probably could have got better pictures, you know.
Well, I thought that picture was just super.
Oh, I think we could have got some better ones. My tank top was kind of caught up, and I wasn't setting.
Everything looked like it was fitting just fine.
Well, we didn't have no choice there. That was just one picture.
I don't believe I remember a picture of you like that's kind of a pinup picture, really. That since the Squaws on the Warpath album.
Oh yeah.
And you had on the Indian thing that was.
That was an Indian shirt.
Yeah, I like that one too. That was good.
Yeah, I like that. I like that album cover too. No makeup on.
Yes, Gregory.
Come think of it, I don't have no makeup on in this one you're looking at.
Oh, you don't.
My hair not fixed. It was just one of these days that we was sitting out on a rock, and it was about 4:30 in the evening, and we just had a half hour to take these 2 pictures.
Now, these are the pictures I want to explain to our audience. On the sleeve that the record goes into, the paper sleeve the record goes into, and it is just super, the artwork on there. A couple of things I want to ask you before we play the record. One of them is the health of your mother. How's she doing?
Mommy is feeling better. I called her day before yesterday. I try to call her once or twice a week, and sometimes oftener than that. And I'll get her on the phone, and I say, Mommy, how are you? And she'll say, oh, very well.
Very well.
It just tickles me to death. Very well. But I can always tell when I start holding the conversation with her how she feels, because she will start breathing heavy if she's not feeling real good.
Mm-hmm.
And she has not gained any weight. She's still 77 pounds.
My goodness.
But she says she's feeling pretty good, and we're all just hoping that it stays this way, you know.
Well, I'm sure that our entire audience is hoping that, and they asked me to ask you about that. And another thing is, Gregory Peck still your favorite actor?
You better believe him. I saw him last week. He was doing the Tonight Show, and I was doing the Hollywood Square. I run into him in the hallway, and I run and put my arm around him, and he couldn't see me too well because he stands like 3 feet taller than me, since I'm only 5'2½". And he said, "Is that you, Loretta?" And I said, "Yes, it is."
He has a new movie going around the theaters here in St. Louis now. That's it's quite a movie. You should see that.
The Boys from Brazil.
Boys from Brazil, yeah.
Yes, that's a great movie, and I hadn't had a chance to get to see it.
It's a good book too.
Everybody's been telling me about it.
Now, what about the new song? Tell us about it.
Well, the new song, I just, usually I'll put out a fast one and a slow one. You know how I do them.
Yeah.
I kind of space them.
Right.
And I thought this was the right time. I thought it was timing to get this one out now. And I know that I didn't have a slow one out last, but I think that probably this is the right time to put this out. And maybe the next time it'll be slow.
This kind of goes back to some of the things that you used to do quite a while back. I mean,
it kind of shows that Loretta Lynn ain't changing too much, isn't it?
Not too much. Why don't you be a disc jockey for us and introduce it?
All right, I'd like to introduce this next record, and this is a song that I think hits all women. We've come a long way, baby.
All right, Loretta. Hey, listen, I appreciate your. Where are you right now?
I'm in Reno.
Well,
I have to get my hair put up and get me a bath and get ready for my first show. There's 3 hours difference in our times.
How much?
3 hours.
Really? It's 3:30 here now. You mean it's only 12? 12? There should be 1:30 there.
It's 1:30 here.
Yeah, 2 hours difference. But,
2 hours.
Yeah.
Is it 2 hours?
Uh-huh.
Well, now it's 3 hours in New York. I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
3 in New York.
Okay.
Is Mooney with you?
No, he has been with me. We've up in the mountains for 10 days, and he left yesterday morning.
Listen, Mike Haynes is working for you now, I think, isn't he? Seems like somebody told me he was working in one of your Western
United Talent?
No, working in the Western store.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. You remember Mike, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
He used to be with us.
Now, see, them Western stores, I don't keep up on them like I should. That's a chain thing, you know.
Yeah.
I have a Western store, though, on the Dew Drinks that I own. And the others, the Western stores in Nashville is a chain store.
Right.
I wished I could do more about them, but, I would change things instead of a chain thing. It'd be a change thing.
Well, Mike was with us, here for a long time, and one of the originals, and I was too. I've been here 10 years now. And then
yeah, I know. You've been there for a long time.
Mike came up and tried to open a club, one of George Jones' clubs here, and he lived with me for a while I was trying to get it done, and then went back to Nashville. And the last I heard of him, he was running one of the Western stores.
Well, it seems like he just goes from one thing to the other. He has problems.
Yeah, he does.
He can't find his place, I guess.
He can't seem to since, he and Barbara broke up.
Yeah, I know. That really threw him, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. room for a loss. Well, listen, say hello to everybody for me, and the next time you're anywhere near St. Louis, why, let me know, and I want to have you on the show with me live, okay?
Okay, Walter, I'll do that, honey.
Okay, we'll look for you now.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Next guest has won every award in the country music business, and through the book and the film Coal Miner's Daughter, people all over the world have come to know the amazing story behind this woman's music. She will be appearing at Harrah's, Atlantic City, May 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then at the Westbury Music Fair beginning May 13th. Please welcome Loretta Lynn. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you very much for being here, Loretta. I mentioned this earlier. You look terrific.
Thank you. You do too.
Oh, you don't need to say that, but I
Well,
appreciate it. That's very nice
I
of
really
you.
do.
What are you doing in New York, aside from all this working, obviously, is what you're doing here?
Well, David, I've been wondering what you've been doing at this time of the morning.
Mhm.
So I thought I'd come up and find out.
Yeah, somebody like you never stays up this late, do you? You're in bed 9, 10 at the latest,
you
I would
kidding?
guess.
I come in about the time the show comes on at night, you know, and then I get to watch your show. So
Now, what do you do when you come into New York City, and is it a nice place for you to be? Do you enjoy it? Do you go out walking around? What do you do?
guess what I done? I went out. We come in late last night.
Yeah.
We was going to go down to the little drugstore on the corner, and guess who I run into? Now, I'm the biggest fan in the world, you know, and I'd probably bug anybody to death.
This is a famous person you ran into?
You better believe it. Just walked right up on him, Rod Stewart.
Oh, yeah. This is
Yes, I did.
pretty impressive. Now, do you know him?
Well, I did then. I got acquainted real fast.
Yeah.
And I was standing there telling him how much I thought of him, you know, and how I watch him all the time. And this girl come walking up, and she said, had a camera. And he says, "No pictures, please, no pictures." And she said, "I want a picture of Loretta." And So she handed Rod the camera and said, "You take the picture." So naturally he was going, you know, and I thought, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So he got down and he took the picture. So he come back over and he said to me, "That's the first picture I've taken in 25 years. And, you know, I thought, my goodness, my picture being taken by Rod Stewart.
Kind of took the wind out of his sails, didn't it? Now, did you come in by bus? I know you travel a lot by bus, but you didn't come in that way.
Well, I have 2 buses on the road and a light and sound truck now, so it looks
a light and a sound truck and 2 buses.
It looks like a carnival going down the road.
How big are these buses? Are these giant guys that you see?
They're the biggest ones.
Yeah. Is that fun, being on one of those things?
Well, I would rather ride my bus than to fly, but we flew up here, and the buses will meet us tomorrow.
Now, what's the longest stretch of time you've traveled by bus?
3 days and 3 nights. Oh, you mean of a whole tour?
Yeah.
Oh, 6 weeks.
But you've had these things fixed up, so they're...
Oh, they're just like a home.
Speaking of home, you own your own town, too, I understand. Is that right? She bought a city in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, and
Hurricane Mills?
Hurricane Mills.
Yeah. All right, let me do this, and then we'll come back and talk about the buying up cities and towns all across this country. We got a letter. Somebody was going to sue us for doing Ask Mr. Melman. Maybe they'll sue us. So we thought we'd do it once more tonight. Also, Margaret Smith will be here tomorrow. The mayor of this city, of course, Ed Koch. You know him better as Larry. Have you ever met Mayor Koch?
No, I don't think so.
He was just across the hall. Very nice man. He will be here tomorrow, and also Larry Holmes. Now, you live in Hurricane Mills.
Hurricane Mills, Tennessee.
Now, what part of the state is that?
Well, it's between Memphis and Nashville.
So roughly south-central part of the state, southwestern part of the state?
Well, I don't know.
Neither do I.
I don't know east, west, and south now, you know.
A small town?
Hurricane Mills, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, very small. I wouldn't own it.
Now, where did you live before you moved to Hurricane Mills?
I lived in right in Nashville.
Yeah. And what took you to Hurricane Mills? Why did you end up there?
We found this old home, and it's an old colonial home, and we were out driving around. This is about 70 miles from Nashville. And I seen this home, and I want that old house right there. So dude said, well,
maybe it's not for sale. So we found out it belonged to the banker in Nashville. So when we bought the place, we didn't know the town come with it. But we didn't know it till we bought it. That I wasn't interested in the town, but
they're certainly glad to hear that now, I would guess.
But I get a check from my government every month for the post office.
Now, wait a minute. No, let's back up here a second. First of all, tell me about the house. What about the house caught your eye?
Well, it was an old southern mansion, but I've spent more money on that thing. I could have built 10 mansions, All
right, so it's a big, attractive house. Now,
it's a big, ugly house now.
so
after working so long on it.
Now, and what did you get when you bought the town? What is included with the town?
Well, the store come with it. A little store,
like a general store, hardware store, grocery store, whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And the post office, and the old mill that I have my museum in right now, and a gift shop. And we built onto the town, and we have all kinds of little things.
Well, do you have a mayor in the town? Or like you, the queen of the town, or?
No, my old man ain't gonna stand for that. I think he kind of runs things, but because he's there most of the time.
And but you get a check from the from the government for the post office.
And there's about 250 people get their mail there, but they don't live on, they live off of my ranch.
Yeah. And what's the exact population of Hurricane Mills?
Just us and our tenants.
Wow, this is very strange. So it's a tiny little town, but 250 people do get their mail there?
But they live off of my place.
Yeah.
They kind of surrounded about 7 miles from
That's interesting. We have...
Big Country 99.5, country's biggest legends. Clay Walker there, and If I Could Make a Living. Hey, it's Tanner. Glad to have you spending your Friday with us. I am joined right now on the phone by one of our favorite country legends around here. She is the most awarded female country recording artist, and also she won the ACM Artist of the Decade for the 1970s. She comes from Butcher Holler, Kentucky, and just released a book called Me and Patsy Kicking Up Dust. Loretta Lynn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tanner.
Hey, what does quarantining look like for Loretta Lynn? What have you been doing?
Not too daggone much of nothing. I'm just sitting around. I ain't going to work. I think that's what they made quarantine me for, is to get me back to work. And I told them I worked before I got here, and I ain't working now.
Well, I know you've certainly been busy. You just released a book, Me and Patsy Kicking Up Dust.
Right. Me and Patsy did pick up a lot of dust, I'll tell you, and a lot of dirt, too.
Well, this is not your first rodeo when it comes to books. You wrote back in 1976 an autobiography, Coal Miner's Daughter, and since have written a couple other autobiographies, a cookbook, and now you're telling the story of your friendship with Patsy Cline. So why now? What made you want to get this story out into the world?
I think it's good because Patsy, her little namesake, is still alive and kicking and having a good time. Her and I was sitting around talking, and we decided to do it.
So the namesake you're talking about there is your daughter, Patsy Lynn Russell, who actually co-authored the book with you. So what was that like, writing a book with your daughter?
Oh, it's great because it's kind of like being with Patsy,
Oh, really? Does your daughter remind you of Patsy Cline?
Oh, yes, every minute of the day.
In what ways?
Every way.
Well, while you were writing this book, what were some challenges you faced, if any?
I didn't face any challenges. I just kept writing. Said to hell with everybody and everything.
I love it.
This is my book, and I'm going to tell it like it is. And that's what I did.
Well, let's talk about Patsy Cline. If you could describe Patsy in one word, what would it be?
Great.
You also say in the foreword you describe her as authentic. What was it about her that made her authentic?
Well, she was the first to do anything that was really great about music.
You and Patsy certainly shared such a special friendship, and you say, too, that you dedicate that book to all the women who haven't yet found that friendship.
Oh, yeah. I just hope all the girls have a good friend, because there's nothing like a good friend. And you have to work at it yourself. You have to make this friend a good friend yourself, too.
So for those women who haven't found that friendship yet, what would your advice be to them, and what do you hope they take away from the book?
Well, I hope they take away a thought of getting to know a good friend and making a good friend on account of this book. That would be great.
Well, in conjunction with the book, you also recorded a cover of Patsy Cline's I Fall to Pieces. Came with a great music video showing all kinds of pictures and illustrations. That had to bring back a bunch of great memories.
Oh, yes, it did. But I had to live with that, too, you know. And nobody else did, but it was good for everybody else to see.
So how did all that come together?
Dolly helped me.
Oh, really? Dolly?
You know, I'm going to holler for Dolly when I get in trouble.
Absolutely.
Me and Dolly are close, you know. We've been together ever since both of us been in Nashville. She was on the Porter Wagner show, and I was on the Wilbur Brothers show. So we've been together since in the early 60s.
Have you talked to Dolly lately?
Not a lot, but when we need each other, we know how to find us.
Well, you know, you hear all the time that you and Patsy Cline really paved the way for other women in country music. So what does that mean to you?
That means a lot, because anything I can do to help a girl singer, I will do it. And if they need me for anything, they know how to get a hold of me. Just call me up, and if you need me to help you with anything in a song, I'll help you, honey. Just call me.
Who are some of the new country artists that you help out?
I always love Miranda.
Miranda Lambert, really?
And Miranda's a great singer. You hear that, Miranda? Come and see your old friend, Miranda. We need to get together now and then because we learn from each other.
Let's go back in time here real quick. Your first single, 1960, I'm a Honky Tonk Girl. If you could tell the Loretta then what you know now, what would be the one piece of advice you would give her?
You know, my younger self done it just about right. She kept working her butt off, and she did it. And there's no other way I could say that she made it, because she worked at it. And nobody else was going to make it unless they work at it. I was doing everything I could think of, and everybody was saying, boy, you're doing the wrong thing. I said, good. It's wrong, then somebody's going to holler.
What was one of the biggest challenges you faced when you were starting out then?
I think the people that tried to keep me from doing what I wanted to do.
Well, it's got to be pretty fulfilling then, looking back and thinking, man, I really showed them.
I did. I just kept working, and I worked harder than they did. And whoever's trying to make it now will have to work harder than I did. And that's going to be hard work, but girls, you'll have to do it. Because I laid the line out there for you to follow, and if you're going to make it, you better work hard.
And you know, I think that's a good piece of advice, regardless of music industry or not. Work hard and don't let anybody work harder than you, and you will certainly make it. Loretta, thank you so much for taking some time to stop here and talk with us.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, it's been an absolute honor, and we're definitely proud to play your music here on our station. And let me tell you, too, there are some serious Loretta Lynn fans here in Northeast Oklahoma.
And I love every one of them. You know that? I love every one of my fans. I don't call them fans. I call them my friends. They're the greatest. They're the ones. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
Because they worked as hard as I did. Some of them worked harder. They worked side by side with me most of the time, and we all got acquainted with each other that way too. And that's what's great. We'll never let each other go.
That is certainly the truth. And before you go, too, let me ask, Loretta, have you got anything else up your sleeve? Anything, projects you're working on?
I got a new album that'll be out soon.
Well, I cannot wait to hear that. We will certainly keep an eye out for that. And also, of course, going to want to go get a copy of Me and Patsy Kicking Up Dust book just released.
Yes, you all, if you haven't got this book, you need it, because maybe it'll help you with your first friend.
If Patsy were still around, what would y'all be doing while you're quarantined right now?
If she was still alive, there's no telling what we'd be doing. We'd probably already had the Nashville tour up.
Well, thank you very much, Loretta. Hey, you stay safe.
Thank you, sweetheart. You know I love you.
I love you too, Loretta. You have a good one.
Okay, baby.
Bye.
Loretta?
Bye-bye. Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, honey?
I'm doing good. Gosh, are you doing a million interviews?
You know me, I like to talk.
Well, me too. I know. It's a wonder we're going to get an Edgewise in here at all.
That's what we do best, ain't it?
We just love to hear ourselves talk. Hey,
that's all right.
I know it. And congratulations on everything. You're just hotter than ever, and just had a big birthday party not too long ago.
I'm just having a good time.
I read in your book, the end of your book, you said you'd never had a birthday party before?
Never had.
That's crazy. I mean, Patsy never threw you a birthday party?
I never had a birthday party.
Did you have anything that you celebrated?
Even when I was growing up, I never had a party.
Man, never had a birthday cake.
No, never.
Well, on the road, your band never gave you a birthday party?
That band of mine, I'm going to kill them. And I love every one of them.
Didn't they know who's writing the check?
No, they don't know that. They don't want to know it.
I thought that was funny. Do you celebrate anything? Do you have any dates that you keep up?
Christmas, I've always known about Christmas.
Yeah.
That was the only day when I was growing up that Mommy ever told us about was Christmas. And that was a big day in our life.
I bet it was. Besides the spiritual part of it, what was a Christmas gift for you when you were a kid?
Well, Mommy always made me a little rag doll.
Oh?
So I got that. And every now and then we get an apple.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some nuts. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to us.
Well, the book is really interesting. You and Patsy. I was a huge Patsy Cline fan, like I'm a huge Loretta fan. And I'm curious, though. I mean, at this point in your life, all the things that you've experienced, and I know you've got to have a lot of great sentimental memories that you look back on. Why?
Yes, I do.
Why now would you write this book about you and Patsy?
I don't know, my daughter Patsy, the one named after Patsy.
Yeah?
She kept talking to me about it and said, well, let's do it, Mom, and let's just get it done. I said, let's get it done, Patsy. So right in there she fell and helped. And she reminds me of Patsy a lot.
Yeah. And when you go to write a book like this, you probably have someone who ask you questions like I am right now that kind of spur your memory about some things. Is that how you got going?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've talked about even you and I. You still got ghosts in your house out there?
We have.
They hadn't left?
They don't leave. They stay. That's where they live forever and ever and ever and ever.
Was Patsy spiritual like you?
I don't think so.
Yeah? She was kind of straightforward, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. What she had to say, it was just said it and that was it.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't no beating around the bush.
Back then when you guys were friends even, were you kind of spiritual that way as far as even seeing ghosts and believing in ghosts and those kind of things? Did y'all ever talk about stuff like that?
Not really. We never had. Well, me and Patsy wasn't together that long, to really get going about different things. We were just getting our own self situated around, getting to know each other,
Yeah.
And I wish we had more time together, but we didn't.
Gosh, well, we lost her too soon.
Right, but we'll see each other again soon.
I do know you mentioned one time, maybe it was in Las Vegas when you were going to walk on stage and you kind of had it and you were worn out or had a fear factor or something going on and you went out there anyway and you mentioned
I didn't know if I was going to be able to do my show because first time in Vegas, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I walked on stage and started singing. I looked up and seen Patsy as if she is to say, get on with it, Loretta. So I went on with my show.
You just figured she's probably still up there cheering you on, huh?
Oh yeah, she's watching.
Yeah. I guess it's funny because, and I love that picture in the book of both of you wearing real country outfits and whatever, all the fringe and all that stuff. And what got her? And of course, she always, all the clips I've seen of her, even backstage, and you certainly shine a great light on a little more behind the scenes. But what made her turn to wearing fancy dresses? And even, she always looked kind of cityfied, but she was still real country.
Really great.
Yeah.
And right at the end, she pulled out this white long gown to show me that she was going to Vegas, and this is what she was wearing. And I thought that was the greatest thing I ever seen. It was beautiful. It was a white long gown, and it wasn't a full gown. It was straight. but it was beautiful, and so I was really happy.
Yeah. And you mentioned which, like, she pulled out a couple of dresses and laid them out on her bed or something one time, and she just you exclaimed how cool it was, and she just gave you one of them.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
That's the way she'd do, you know. If I said I like that, she'd give it to me, you know. So I had to be careful.
and I love the chapter about her getting you to shave your legs.
Oh gosh, she got me in trouble many times.
What was it? What was it besides shaving your legs? Did she help you turn the corner on?
Makeup.
Oh yeah.
Makeup and shaving my legs and hairdos. You know, where I fix my hair and stuff.
Now, how did makeup get you in trouble?
Well, Doo never let me wear it.
How come?
Patsy was determined I was going to wear it. Well, he never thought I needed it, he said. I was pretty without it.
Well, you were pretty without it, but all those girls on the Opry stage got makeup on. You had to keep up, didn't you?
But he didn't think so.
But you kind of had your own way of doing things anyway, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of helped Patsy along. Between the two of us, we'd get it done.
Well, I think it is cool, and you mentioned this several times in the book about how you met her after her car wreck, which obviously was horrific. It seemed like for her, especially just because it had scarred her face like that. And
it seemed like she was always in some kind of a wreck, you know, and bless her heart.
It sounded like you also helped her get through a lot of those times. I know there was a point in the book where, you know, she had a breakdown, just was so upset because she'd scared her 3-year-old daughter. I can't imagine how upsetting that must have been, and she needed a friend like you.
Yeah. Well, Patsy was a great person, and I was proud to be her friend.
Yeah, well, sounds like you were a really good one. I mean, it was you. I guess it was a great picture too of you and Dolly and Tammy together, and I guess along with Patsy. I mean, you set the standard for all women in country music and sort of made women, for the first time, really country superstars. Do you feel like there's, in today's country music, it still seems like there's obviously not a lot of women compared to men in country music? Is there a reason for that?
They're not working at it. I don't know
why.
I don't know why. Because they're good singers and they could do it, and but they just people just don't want to work at it. That's it. It's a little bit of work.
It takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Yes, but it's worth it, you know.
Yeah. What do you think's the most important thing about? I mean, you say work at it. What is it? Just how many dates you do, or whatever?
Well, just because you can sing don't mean you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work at being good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a singer, you got to work at being good because you're not that good when you start. You just have to get better at it. And sometimes nobody wants to do that, and that's the one that don't make it.
Yeah. I know you talk about being so scared the first time you went on stage. Anybody that's ever seen you perform would have a hard time believing that, Loretta.
My dress tail would shake so bad that sometimes I'd think people would be watching, you know, and it would bother me. I was so scared. I still get nervous when I go on stage, right to this day.
Those are good kind of nerves, though, aren't they? Isn't that what kind of gets you fired up inside?
I would just like to go on and not be nervous.
You think you'd have the same energy out there?
Yes, I do.
Well, it's hard to tell. You certainly set the standard for performing and writing. How about songwriting? You still write it all? I remember you and Sean Camp not too long ago were working on an album and writing some new songs.
Yeah, I love Sean, and we need to get back together to write some, too. I don't know where he's at right now.
He's around.
He works all the time, you know.
He does, and he's a good buddy. And I was there the night that he played with you on the Opry, and he said he was back there just shaking. He said he had just come off stage, and then you went out and sang, and then he went out and sang with you, I remember. And we're sitting back there talking. He said, "You don't understand what this means to me." He said, "The Opry means a lot." He said, "And all the hits that I've written for people, or what I've done." He said, "But to be on stage with Loretta Lynn at the Grand Ole Opry," he said, "there will never be anything more important to me."
Bless his heart.
Yeah, you've had a great
He's a good
influence
friend.
on a lot of people, Loretta.
I love him. He's a good friend.
He is.
Thank you, honey.
Well, you're a great friend to our business. You're a great inspiration to all of us that have tried to pull on your coattails and get up there and do the good stuff. But you certainly have set the standard, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes and saying hey to me today.
Anytime you want to talk to me, just pick up the phone.
I love it, and love to Patsy too. Those girls
Thank you, honey.
those girls are bad and they're good.
That's right.
All right, love you. Take care.
Love you too, honey.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.